So we have with us Dr. Lotay Tshering, former Prime Minister of Bhutan. Thank you so much for joining us. You're also the governor of the Gelephu Mindfulness City, the landmark project of the Bhutanese government. Uh, I would like to ask you now, when India has announced the two rail links, the first ever between India and Bhutan, how do you see the GMC project really taking off from here now in a big way? And what are the opportunities do you think are there for the Bhutanese people?
In the first place, thank you very much, Ms. Namrata, for initially coming all the way to Gelephu and meeting, and now keeping GMC and all of us on your mind and following us up. Thank you very much. As we conversed last time, and as I always request, GMC is a project that is of huge scale and scope, is unprecedented. His Majesty the King has come up with two system, one country project where our GOB, Royal Government of Bhutan system and GMC system are now playing and taking shape in this little country called Bhutan. So since it's a project that is unprecedented, huge scope and span, we cannot be excited to see results overnight. Therefore, when you came to Gelephu a couple of months back, I did make a request to you to follow us up. 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 25, 30 years down the line, we will appreciate the results and conversations that we're having now. So thank you very much, Ms. Namrata, for again reaching out to us. I hope you're keeping fine.
Yes, thank you
your
so much.
question on railway,
Yes.
on the railway impact, excitement, the value it brings to GMC is very, very obvious. Any small, how much ever small it may be, a country, a developmental activity, urbanization, construction, without connectivity will not take off, we know. But a project of GMC's scale that is though physically in Bhutan, but not meant only for Bhutan. From Bhutan, from GMC is meant for Northeast India to begin with, and India, South Asia, Southeast Asia, and the world. Therefore, connectivity is of utmost importance. So, Government of India, of course, had agreed on the railway projects a couple of years back. In fact, I was in office when the dialogue started. But now it has become even more urgent and more relevant after GMC has been announced. So we are all excited and, of course, unconditionally grateful to Government of India for putting this as a priority project. So thank you very much for following us up on the story, as well as please, through you, I would like to express the gratitude of all Bhutanese and people working for GMC to Government of India and Prime Minister Modi ji's leadership and understanding of our needs.
So when we look at the GMC, can you tell us what's the status of the project today? Has the work begun? And if it has, what are the next steps?
Yes, as we all know, a GMC is a project and activity initiated by His Majesty the King. The vision is profound. Project is unprecedented. There is no one similar project that we can study and learn in the world. Therefore, whatever we are doing on GMC on daily basis is happening for the first time. So there are two major umbrellas of work stream under GMC. One, the infrastructural aspect, where we are giving a lot of attention on connectivity. So on connectivity, one is airport, the international airport of Gelephu has been started some 5-6 months back. The groundbreaking was done and physical works are in full swing. That is of primary importance to us. Then roads and bridges that connects GMC from east to west is being designed through World Bank, and final stages of the design works are underway. And then now we are so happy to hear about the rail connectivity between Gelephu Mindfulness City, and to begin with Kokrajhar, one of the busiest railway stations in Northeast India. So these are the activities that, major activities that have been started. And on the other side, we also have Being Mindfulness City. We have lots of spiritual masters, Bhutanese and non-Bhutanese Buddhist masters are showing interest to set up their institution or camp in GMC. And our policy encourages that. And of the 23 applications that we have received from Buddhist masters around the world, 9 plus 2, actually 11 spiritual centers, 3 being by government of Bhutan or religious institution, Bhutanese government-owned religious institutions, and 8 being private initiators, some Bhutanese and some non-Bhutanese Buddhist spiritual masters. Their works are ready, design is ready, and they have already received approval from His Majesty the King. So they are at various stages of implementation now. In fact, I'll be welcoming one of a Buddhist spiritual master called Gangte Tuku this afternoon, because he also has a major, almost $15 million project in GMC. He is coming to visit his site, and many projects are now at the stage of groundbreaking. So a lot of activities, Namrata.
So of course, as you mentioned, the rail link, between Assam's Pokrajhar and Gelephu is going to open up a lot of, inroads for people, cross-border movement. We are also looking at trade, and India being the leading trade partner for Bhutan. Is it only trade that we are looking at in bilateral, relations? Are we also looking at Bhutan being a landlocked country, really being able to now reach out through the Indian ports and beyond to third countries? So how does it really benefit Bhutan's outreach in terms of trade to India and the rest of the world?
Yes, sure. That's what I was saying. It's not a choice. We have to be connected through every route possible, land, air, sea route. And being landlocked, but having a good, open-minded leaders in Delhi and government-to-government relation that we have between Bhutan and India, we don't feel landlocked, because whatever access to sea that India has, Bhutan unconditionally gets those support. So through the rail links that we will be having soon, then we will be connected to the whole railway link system of India. Therefore, goods, the volume of goods that can move out of GMC or Bhutan to India immediately improves. And then through that system, through the Indian railway network import-export system, we easily can reach out to the world. Therefore, when we have these major connectivity projects coming through, then India's policy of doing business with the world excites Bhutan more. Until and unless we are linked so closely between the two countries, what is happening in India versus the world do not excite the Bhutanese a lot. But now going forward, that will bring in a lot of excitement. So yes, Ms. Namrata, I think to begin with, having connection between Gelephu Mindfulness City and Kokrajhar railway station is the beginning, and I really see a lot of scope of expanding more connectivity, land to land connectivity between India and Bhutan, GMC in particular. And advantages are numerous. Passenger, of course, then gradually high-end, high-speed railways, of course, movement of goods in volumes that we will anticipate coming to GMC or going out of GMC, of course. Going out of GMC, GMC will not be focusing a lot on mass-scale manufacturing. Just for you to know, we will focus a lot on high-value, low-volume goods. GMC's interest and focus on manufacturing will be little unique compared to what is being done in China, India, Vietnam, or all these places. So our focus will be mostly on high-value, low-volume goods. So yet, whatever we call to be connected through railway, I think gives all of us the much-needed excitement.
And also, looking at India as Northeast, whether it's society, culturally, people on the border areas have really shared very good relations, almost family relations on both sides. How do you see the development really picking up in border regions, both for India as well as for Bhutan?
Yes, sure. Relation between two countries actually have evolved because of the close relation and cultural ties that we have between the peoples of the two countries. So it's the relation between government of Bhutan and government of India is a reflection of closeness of the peoples of the two countries. Now, until now, people living across the border between India and Bhutan have developed their own relation based on needs, based on appreciation of each other's norms and culture. And going forward, GMC will bring more value to this, more economic value to people living across the border on Indian side. Because until now, the place where I am today now, Gelephu or Sarbang district, is one of the 20 districts of Bhutan. Gelephu is one of the many towns and small town urban places that we have. Economically, not so developed. Of course, environmentally lush green, do's and don'ts, waste management, climate change initiatives are all at top level, but yet economically, we have only villages living on either side of the border. So we only can be beneficial to each other at that level. But going forward, GMC will be one of the best places on this planet, one of the safest, cleanest, the most green places where people in the world will look forward to coming and being resident of. So when that thing happens, there'll be a lot of economic opportunities, job opportunities, and resource sharing opportunities for all over the world, India in particular, Assam, and then places that we share direct borders with. Rising tide will leave no boats behind. That's as simple as that.
When we talk of one country, two systems, can you explain how the special administered region is going to function? How does this setup really work for Bhutan?
Um, Two system, one country, where in Bhutan we have Royal Government of Bhutan system and GMC system that are totally autonomous. Where required, where needed, we will definitely work closely together. But where not required, we really don't have to depend on each other. What GMC wants to do, even if it is not in keeping with the law of mainstream Bhutan, we can have our own norms and laws so that we get to do it. Because GMC is a sandbox project where the good practices that are happening anywhere in the world should be able to come and take roots in GMC. Even if it is not in keeping with the laws of the Kingdom of Bhutan, GMC will allow, because that is what a country should have or need. We cannot allow that to happen throughout the country from day one, because many laws, norms, policies of Royal Government of Bhutan, they have their own reasons why we have those. Having served the country as Prime Minister, I know the values of our laws that we have it in place. Well, some needs to be changed, all cannot be changed overnight. So we will let that change in the country take its own course of time. But for GMC, we have to be dynamic, agile, be able to adapt to any newer stands that we want to bring in, newer opportunities that are coming up. As we know, the world is changing very fast. A nation cannot wait, cannot keep up to those changes. And GMC is a system that will be agile, that will be able to adopt and adapt any kind of changes that is required. So while when we do this, I can understand that it is not meant to make the rest of the country or Bhutan more comfortable at this point in time. There can be some uncomfortable decisions that GMC might, the decision that GMC takes might be a little uncomfortable to the Royal Government of Bhutan or mainstream Bhutan. But they will understand, they will not mind, because ultimately what GMC is doing is for them, for the rest of the country's future. Therefore, GMC is not created to make Royal Government of Bhutan comfortable now. Is to make Bhutan relevant in 21st century. Is to make Bhutan relevantly, uniquely rich in 21st century. So that's what GMC is for. And when we talk about GMC, GMC is more outward looking. We look out to the world and see what the world needs, what is lacking in the world, what is lacking in these major metropolitan cities in the world. And His Majesty the King wants to test bed that in GMC and offer that to the world. How can an urban dwelling be developed, keeping in mind sustainability chapter, keeping in mind living in harmony with nature, living in harmony with wildlife? These things are not there in current metropolitan cities in the world. And GMC is trying to focus on that. GMC, by the name, is Mindfulness City. To be mindful about our need, our next generation's need, to be mindful about your neighbor's need, to be mindful about the quality of food that comes on your table, to be mindful about the quality of the air that we breathe in, the water that we drink. So these are the special qualities of the vision behind Gelephu Mindfulness City. Well, when I say, many will feel that these are a very conventional utopian system, that I'm just being theoretical, but GMC is not only a vision, it has already started taking roots. His Majesty the King on daily basis is in touch with global leaders, domain experts, and trying to bring those expertise in Gelephu and trying to implement here. So yes, two system, one country gives GMC the added advantage. When we don't have it, we can follow our current norms. When we want to adapt or adopt a different norm that may not be in keeping with our current norms, we can keep our current Bhutanese norm aside and bring the new norm into practice and try to implement that. So that gives us that agility and flexibility.
While you're bringing all these global best practices to Bhutan and particularly to GMC, how many countries are you really engaging with? And when I talk of India, of course, the closest partner here in this whole initiative is the Indian government. How are you really balancing? Like last time you were mentioning, there are, this one project which also does not invoke any concerns from, China, for example. So how is this fine balancing really happening to sustain global interest while not have any strategic concerns going forward?
Sure. I mean, bilaterally, GMC has not reached out to any country in specific except Government of India. His Majesty the King has identified and commanded a senior diplomat, former ambassador, a Singaporean national, Mr. Jonathan Tao, as a His Majesty's special envoy to Government of India from GMC side. So that's the only country that we have a special team, specially identified special envoy to Government of India. Other than that, rest are all at personal, institutional level rather than at government to government level. So we are not reaching out other than Government of India to any specific governments, but we are in dialogue with various institutions, individuals, and investors and business units. Those who come to us showing interest in investing in GMC or areas that are of our interest, we try to initiate a dialogue with them.
Coming back to my question, since we mentioned that, the only major outreach is with India, going forward, do you see any concerns from other partners or neighboring countries really coming up? Or all that has been, discussed and factored in when we're talking of strategic interests of, Bhutan?
Yeah, I mean, strategic interest of Bhutan or His Majesty the King is to make sure that Bhutan becomes relevant to the world. Bhutanese young minds who are growing up, they have expectations like any other youths of the other countries. As a monarch, as head of the state, king's responsibility is to make sure that the needs and expectations of the young minds are met appropriately. So therefore, GMC or Bhutan's interest is for Bhutan. Through GMC, Bhutan will make ourselves relevant. Through GMC, we will try to attract the global best practices, and with that, the global best minds to come to Gelephu and work with us. So that would be the primary objective. Now, on saying that, GMC will not definitely go into any bilateral diplomatic understandings or misunderstandings, that's for sure. And then how much of strategic importance that we play depends on how much our goodwill partners look at us. On that note, I have nothing to hide or hesitate to tell you that the Bhutan-India relation is time-tested. It has been going so uniquely. It doesn't really matter the election in Thimphu or Delhi. The relation between the two countries go on unhindered. There's no two nations in the world where we share this unique relation. We really, Delhi do not have to worry about the elections in Thimphu and which government comes to power, because we have the same stand. It's there ingrained in our blood. And similarly, whichever government comes to power in Delhi, we do not worry because we know that this relation between the two countries will go on forever. But more and more stronger India becomes, more and more economically and technologically developed India becomes, Bhutan becomes the first country that gets benefited first, because our trade, our relation, our understanding, everything is so intricately related. So every bit of improvement and development that comes to India or India adventures into, we get benefited first. And similarly, anything that jolts or shakes India's economy, we get the impact first. Therefore, it is to our mind, it is in our prayers that India and Indian government starts doing better or stronger and stronger, because we know inherently our success depends on that. We know inherently that success of government of India will directly, not indirectly, will immediately, not in the long run, we start benefiting. Therefore, we know our interest. We know the interest of a long-term vision of government of India. So these are time-tested. I don't think there has to be any doubt on this. The language that we use to define the relation between Bhutan and India is so unique, is time-tested. Therefore, there should be no doubt about the relation.
We also, when you mention, global best practices, you're also mentioning an urban space, that has, keeping in mind sustainability, climate change, and all other issues that a urban city would face. You're also looking at bringing Bhutanese youth back, to the country, creating more jobs. How do you balance, this whole race for GDP while Bhutan follows the gross national happiness index? Does that also translate into what we are going to see going forward, or are we seeing a shift?
Ms. Namrata, actually, there are many who look at it from the angle that you just asked me the question, but there are many angles to look at it. I don't know whether our developmental philosophy of gross national happiness has totally disregarded the concept of GDP. To me, I don't think we have disregarded that. GDP and GDP style of countries' progress management and measurement is definitely time tested. It has its own unique set of advantages, global practices, global benchmarking, which I don't think Bhutan is to the interests of Bhutan to totally disregard that. I don't think when we talk about GNH, we can disregard or discontinue or not consider GDP. I think GDP is an integral part of gross national happiness. Material wealth is an integral part of a human being. If material wealth is an integral part of human being, that has to be an integral part of our country's economy. So I cannot differentiate gross national happiness and GDP that easily. All what gross national happiness means is sustainability. What we do now should be sustainable for a long time. What we do now should be relevant for our next generation. What many countries have lost, we will try to preserve that. While Bhutanese and Bhutan also want to be rich, but there are many ways of becoming rich. One, mindfully and sustainably. Having more trees, olden days it can be labeled as being jungle. Now, having more trees and people living in those greenery is what is really required. So through GMC, His Majesty the King's vision is to go more deeper into the concept of the philosophy of gross national happiness and not abandoning it. It's actually giving a new life, more relevant life to gross national happiness. Make gross national happiness more appropriate. Open up an economic window of gross national happiness, because through gross national happiness, a nation can also be prosperous economically. And that would be the most sustainable economic development if you develop a country through the lens of gross national happiness, because that will cover climate change, that will cover living in harmony with nature, wildlife, being mindful about what you need, your next generation needs, being mindful about what many cities in the world have lost that we need to conserve. So I think it's a vision that captures almost everything. And then it's a vision that once it is fully implemented, the whole world will look at it. As I was saying, we only talk about the infrastructure that we are trying to build now, or beginning to build. Bigger chapter for GMC that should bring excitement to the world, that the whole world will look up to GMC, is actually the software part, the governance part, which is where His Majesty the King and a lot of experts are spending a lot of time in building a unique set of governance. So as we go along, maybe in one of your episodes down the line, we should spend some time on the software element of GMC.
Right, definitely. We'll do that. And my last question, what is the timeline that you're really looking at when we talk of, this project, which is also continuous work, right now going forward?
Well, this is a common question that I get asked all the time. And I can see where the question is coming from, because many projects and SEZs and special cities being designed in the world, they have a timeline, certain KPIs and targets that they need to achieve. Probably that is what they mean, or you must be meaning. But for GMC, our current king, the fifth king, is building it, starting to build it, to hand over it to his son, who will be our next king. So it's an intergenerational project. So for a project like GMC that is intergenerational between two generations of monarchs, it's very, very difficult for me to put a timeline in terms of number of years. When we say timeline, you will hear many formulas being designed, and many talks on GMC, you might hear many numbers. Some will divide into 7, 7, 7, 21 years. Some will divide into 10 plus 10 plus 10, or some will go into 20 years plus 20 years. And every formula that you hear has a basis to it. Now, 20 plus 20 years is to diverge and build GMC And the second 20 years is to converge, is what His Majesty mentioned during last National Day, where His Majesty pronounced the word diamond strategy. Because while it is required for now to bring about changes, to create two system, one country, His Majesty very clearly mentioned that it may not be in the interest of the long-term planning of a country. When we say long-term, is 50 years, 100 years, to have two system, one country forever. Therefore, His Majesty made it very sure that when required now you diverge, GMC must do whatever GMC has to do to bring about the real change in the country. Once it is there, RGOB, Royal Government of Bhutan, must also transform themselves and at one time incorporate all GMC has tried and tested and proven to be effective to be incorporated in the rest of the country system. And that is where two system now that is diverging can converge and become one again. And His Majesty coined the term called diamond strategy. So there you may hear 20 plus 20. So 20 years of divergence and doing what we have to do, and the second 20 years to bring the two systems together. So those, as I was saying, are visionary timelines. Now, when it comes to overall projects, we have project-specific timelines. Say, for example, the airport was started beginning of this year. His Majesty is given 5 years. So 2029 is expected to complete.
You were mentioning the airport timeline, of course, we see by 2029, as you mentioned.
Okay, so we
the
have
national airport would be
project.
ready.
We have yes. So we have project-specific timelines where, say, for example, we have broken down the long-term vision into 10-yearly vision into 5-yearly, and also to show some progress to the rest of Bhutan as well as to the world. The 5-yearly is broken down into 2.5-yearly projects. So we have a project called Project 2027. We have a project, a small, how much ever small it may be, to build the headquarters office of GMC in Gelephu. And that is like end of this month, end of this year. So many projects have their own specific timelines so that at regular intervals, we have something to showcase to the world. So one major achievement would be when we finish constructing the airport. That would be one major milestone, and it is to everyone's dream. Government of Bhutan and Government of India, His Majesty the King, and everyone, their dream would be to also see clearly here a timeline on the railway connectivity projects, and then harmonizing that with completion of the airport. How if the first international flight taking off from Gelephu coincides with the rail that is coming from Kokraja to Gelephu happening on the same day? I cannot wish for a better dream than this in my life, or not even in my second life, actually. So this is how we can design, and this is how we can get the maximum value out of this unconditional support that we are getting from Government of India.
Yes. So as we continue to chase these timelines, and as you rightly mentioned, for each project, there is, of course, a timeline that we can quantify. We'll be looking forward to engaging with you more on each of them that bring value to this relationship and also to people of India and Bhutan going forward. Thank you so much for joining us at the week.